Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Grooving and Giving in Early Retirement. I'm Radhika, and thank you for spending your time with me. On this channel, we talk about living our best life in early retirement, giving back to our local and global communities, and the glue that holds it all together, financial freedom, the key ingredient that makes it possible for us to pursue our passions. I left my career, a 23-year-long career in the middle of the pandemic, to focus on my passion, my not-for-profit that I started in 2012 called A Childhood for Children. The mission of the organization is to fulfill the basic needs of children living in impoverished and underserved communities. And this year, my organization celebrated its 13th anniversary. Wow. I will put a link in the description below. Please check us out. My other passion is traveling. Look at the view behind me. I am in Mostar in Bosnia and Herzegovina. I am pursuing my passion of traveling since I left my job early. In this video, I am talking about financial freedom beyond FIRE, 4 smart financial moves so you can achieve financial freedom and pursue your passions. So I started my investment journey when I was in my early 20s. I didn't have much money, but I was investing like maybe $20 or $25 a week. I was working full time and going to school at night. And once I got my job after college, I was working 60 or 70 hours a week. You may have heard about the FIRE movement, financial independence, retire early. But did you know that there are several FIRE movements? I didn't know about the FIRE movement till only about maybe 15 years or so ago. And I certainly did not know about all the varieties of the movement. But that did not mean that I couldn't achieve financial freedom. Before we can go to those 4 smart financial moves, let's just talk about some of the different varieties of FIRE. Let's just go through some of the FIRE movement definitions. 1, fat FIRE. Fat FIRE is where you hype up your savings and your retirement. And the idea is that you think you'll have a more luxurious type of retirement, or at least that's what you're planning on. Maybe you're planning to spend more time like on really, high-end vacations or eating out or shopping, whatever the situation might be. The upside, of course, of this movement is that you save more. And should you change your lifestyle, or should something happen that changes your lifestyle for you, you'll have a lot more wiggle room in terms of spending in your retirement. The downside is you got to save a lot more if you're planning to have this really sort of high end type of retirement. Now, my first few years after leaving my career, I looked at my bucket list and I had 3 big things remaining on my bucket list: trekking to Mount Kilimanjaro, trekking to Everest Base Camp, and Antarctica. All of these I knew were going to be hefty from a price tag perspective. Now, I have always been a traveler. I had traveled to over 50 countries before I even retired early, and I always got a lot of vacation time in my jobs. So, for me, not every year is going to be hefty in my retirement. Those 3 things were hefty. So, think about what you think your retirement's going to look like. The next one is lean fire. This is the opposite of fat fire, where you think you're going to live frugally. Maybe you're going to live in one of those countries where you only need, $1,000 a month. I've definitely looked at several countries where you can easily get by with $1,000 a month. You obviously, in this type of movement, you would save less for your retirement, but that also means you may not have a lot of wiggle room. The next one is Barista Fire. This is where you don't necessarily have all the money before you retire, but you're going to scale back your working hours. Hey, anybody who's worked a 60, 70-hour work week for long periods of time, I'm sure knows how nice it would be to scale back. I have a really good friend. She constantly talks about becoming a barista. So, what it is basically you take on a part time job. Okay, the next one is Coast Fire, which is this is where people contribute towards their retirement, but when they think they've gotten to a point where they have saved enough for retirement, they just scale back and coast. Of course, this is a little bit scary. Like, how do you know when you have enough? And how do you know that you have enough for what you think your lifestyle is going to be? There's a lot written about this, so I won't go deeper into it. The one thing I'll say as a tax CPA, I think this is very tax inefficient because the longer you stay in a job, you generally earn more compensation. And you want to find ways to bring down your tax payments or your taxes. So you want to contribute to things like your retirement accounts or your health savings account, again, in the US, all ways to potentially minimize your income tax payments and invest in your future. So I'm not sure that it's an efficient strategy, but again, I leave it up to people to decide. I also found this other one in the article, which I definitely had not heard of. It isn't really called FIRE, but it is called Cash Flow Financial Independence. This is where you generate several streams of cash flow so you have enough passive income. Of course, you can create passive income either through rental properties, you can also create passive income through a portfolio. I chose not to go to the rental route because I love to travel. And I know if I had rental properties, I would want to be on the ground. So I found a different path to consider real estate, but that's going to be in a separate video. Okay, you can spend a ton of time trying to figure out which fire movement is the best for you or right for you or the one you should follow. But honestly, I think doing is what matters. Like I said, I didn't know anything about the fire movement till much later in my saving and investing life. I didn't know about all the different types of movement. And yet, all I did was save money, invest money, and I was able to retire early before I turned 50 so I could pursue my other passions. So there are different ways to retiring early, and I'll say you will make mistakes. So give yourself some space and learn from your mistakes. And don't be afraid to move. If you think one thing is better for you, change. I retired early and it has been 4.5 years. And folks, I'll tell you, the grass is definitely greener on this side. Now I take on very small consulting roles that require me to work no more than 5, maybe 10 hours a week. And I spend most of my time on my NGO, A Childhood for Children, my passion, and the reason I left my career. I also volunteer for other organizations from time to time. And I spend at least 6 months traveling. Not a bad life. So if you are looking to retire early, here are my 4 smart financial moves to achieve financial freedom. Number one, don't get hung up on which type of fire movement you should take on and stick to because life is dynamic. And also, don't be afraid to switch. Just because you thought you were going to be lean fire doesn't mean you can't be frugal fire, but look beyond the fire. Tip number 2, focus on saving and investing. As you increase your earnings, increase your savings. Know that you are saving for your freedom. Save for the long term And don't get sidetracked with the shiny objects or trends. Just because your friend has some financial tip for you that'll create all sorts of upsides, don't get caught up in the trends. Focus on saving and investing. Steady as she goes. Brings us to tip number 3: invest holistically. What I mean by that is pay attention to both your tax deferred and your taxable accounts. In your tax deferred accounts, you will have things like your individual retirement accounts, your Roth IRA, your 401k, your health savings account. And by the way, this is a side tip: use your health savings account as an investment account. Leave the funds there, let them grow. Then you also have your taxable accounts. Don't forget that you can take advantage of your taxable accounts, particularly in later years when your tax rates are low. You can have a significant amount of dividends and capital gains that are not subject to taxes, at least under the current tax law. I'm filming this video in June 2025, yet to see what happens in the upcoming years with regards to tax changes. Tip number 4, last but not least, know your numbers. Keep your eyes on the prize. Financial freedom. I always say this: the person who knows their numbers has the power. So put that power in the palm of your hands. Keep your eyes on the prize. I'm Radhika, and I am grooving and giving in early retirement. On this channel, I talk about living our best life in early retirement, giving back, and financial freedom, the key ingredient that you need to pursue your passions. Please remember to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Ding, ding, ding. Havala from Bosnia and Herzegovina.